Evening. I've often liked to quote Psalm 14:1 on April 1st as the verse for International Atheist Day. After all, it says that the fool says in his heart, "There is no God." And it's a funny zinger. It's kind of a throwaway joke on the other hand, and there is some truth to it when you consider the complexity of human life and life in general, and the amount of clearly designed features and the sheer raw information involved in the genetic code. Yeah, it seems to me only a fool would say that this all came about on its own, by chance. Clearly there must be a God and a designer. And you could see that, and I encourage you to look at that and get lost in the wonder of that as more of Minnesota seems to come alive in early spring. But much as it's fun to pick on atheists and atheism and picking on those people who say there is no God, consider the rest of the psalm. The fool says in his heart, "There is no God." They are corrupt, their deeds are vile. There is no one who does good. The Lord looks down from heaven on the sons of men to see if there are any who understand, any who seek God. All have turned aside. They have together become corrupt. There is no one who does good, not even one. Will evildoers never learn, those who devour my people as men eat bread and who do not call on the Lord? There they are, overwhelmed with dread, for God is present in the company of the righteous. You evildoers frustrate the plans of the poor, but the Lord is their refuge. Oh, that salvation for Israel would come out of Zion. When the Lord restores the fortunes of his people, let Jacob rejoice and Israel be glad. You see then that it's foolish to say there is no God, no doubt. But this psalm isn't looking at people who just deny God's existence. This psalm is talking about the people who, worse than just saying there is no God, go on to live like there is no God. These people are corrupt, they devour each other, they devour the righteous, but they will eventually have cause to dread that and to regret that. And people who pick on the needy, the down and the out, the poor, especially the poor who've turned to God, the Lord is their refuge. And David goes on to say that David goes on to say that he's looking forward to when God sends that deliverance. But while we need to wait for it now, like they did then, we certainly don't need to engage in any foolishness ourselves while we do that. What? Any foolishness ourselves? Yes, we shouldn't get into any foolishness ourselves. If the fool says in his heart there is no God, and then goes on to live that way, we do well to take stock of how we live as well. Obviously, we shouldn't try and live in an ungodly fashion, and we don't usually do so bad outwardly with that. Much of the time, inwardly, we're a mess, but beyond that, you can still continue to live like there is no God if you're just ignoring him. Seemingly neutral activity like reading or hiking or listening to music, if it's done apart from God and in distraction from God, that could take you away from being cognizant that God's with you all the time. We like the thought that God is with us all the time, especially when the time is rough. I want to hear when times are rough, God's with me all the time. But when time's not so rough, when time is good, we don't necessarily remember, and we don't necessarily even always want to be reminded. But God is with us all the time. Since he is, turn to him. Find hope in him and share the better parts of your day with him. Give thanks as you have better moments. Pray and ask for help in the small things as well as the big things. He has an interest in sharing those daily moments with you. Live like there is a God and share your days with him. That's what I have for tonight. Remember, no man is an island, and you don't have to be either. So call right, wave to someone in the park, and continue to draw together during this time of isolation. Shalom.